steel beams, turbine motors, copper wiring, and scrap metal. The Lenox Metals Recycling Show is for the serious big players. If you're working in a demolition, renovation, construction, in the hotel industry, government agency, or a utilities company, or just need to know what to do with your scrap and junk, then tune in. Al Hornstein, CEO of Lenox Metals, has over 25 years of experience as a commercial and industrial scrap metals dealer. He will bring you valuable information on how to save time, money, and your company's reputation when it comes to processing your recyclable scrap materials. Now, here's your host, Alan Hornstein, and his co-host, Justine Gronwald.
Welcome back to the Lenox Metals Recycling Show. I'm the co-host, Justine Gronwald, and again with our host, CEO Alan Hornstein of Lenox Metals.
Thank you, Justine.
Now, today's topic, last topic, we talked about what Lenox Metals does. And with Alan's 28 plus years of experience, we want to cover what happens if a company or individual, if they don't properly remove or recycle or dispose of their metals. What could happen if they don't do it properly? Because in the previous episode we talked about how you should go to an authorized dealer. So what happens if you don't go to an authorized dealer?
Right.
What's the possibilities?
Well, if you're not dealing with an authorized dealer may not necessarily have facility-wise, a facility that has the associated permits with running a facility.
And we talked about those permits in the last episode.
Correct. But from the origination point to the facility, you're also controlled by the Department of Transportation.
Oh, Department of Transportation.
Yeah, Department of Transportation wants to know that if you're carrying certain types of materials, one, you're licensed to transport that material. Two, your drivers are trained to handle and transport that material, and that they have valid licenses to do so, and that they stay within the transportation laws of carrying material over the road. Very often there are spills, waste spills.
And
we see them along the highways.
They would know how to properly take care of that as well.
Well, yeah,
in case of a spill.
A driver who's thoroughly trained, if he or she were to have a spill, would know exactly what to do during a spill, and that's called spill response training.
Wow.
So we have that type of training of drivers, whether they're driving over the road or post-delivery, which would be delivery into our facility, and then those individuals that are operating and either forklifting or handling materials in the facility also have training if there were a spill or a response to a spill.
Yeah, that just comes to mind that nobody would think to ask, is your driver trained? But that's something you need to know, because that's still you're still the generator of this materials.
Correct.
So even as they're taking it away from your property or what have you, there's still that responsibility that you carry as it's being transported to the plant itself.
Correct.
Wow, I wouldn't think to know that you would have to have people trained in every aspect of this whole journey of the material.
Yeah, obviously truck drivers have different licenses, different operating licenses. They're not like a typical car license, okay? So they're called CDL licenses, and CDLs are properly trained to either drive a truck or a semi-truck or a tractor. And those are two different type vehicles. The dissemination of those licenses are what they carry with them. So if you wanted to check a driver for proper licensing, you could actually walk up to a driver who's carrying your material and ask them for him to show his license to you if you were the generator.
And I don't think most people would think to do that, but that's something really important.
It is, and
Yeah.
we encourage people to do that if they feel that they need to. The point of this is that the material be transported safely from point A to B. That means from an origination point down to our facility. And then, as such, we, the transporter, are responsible for the safe transport and delivery from point A to B. And sometimes over the road, you have accidents.
Yes.
I mean, if you look and read about those types of accidents in the paper, really what it applies to is potential negligence of the driver. Was the load too high to go under a bridge? Was it shored and secured onto the truck so that nothing falls off the truck? So it's a very, very delicate operation, mostly, of carrying material over the road.
You wouldn't think that,
Yeah.
thinking ahead.
Yes.
So one of the questions I had for you is, what happens if, by not transporting it properly, what can happen to the generator? Like, are there, I think you mentioned there's fines sometimes for these types of things?
There are fines for that can be pointed to not having correctly filled out documentations, such as non-hazardous waste forms that have to be signed off by the generator, 1 at point A, and 2 received by the facility at point B. And those types of documents are controlled by the Department of Transportation over the road. The first document an inspector might look at when they arrive at an accident scene is, what's on the truck? Is it described? Does it have a manifest? Does it have one of these non-hazard waste documents that fully describe what the material is? The potential for fire, the potential for explosion.
That's hazardous for everyone around.
Yeah, it is, especially over the road where you have, your public domain drivers who are also out on the road, sharing the road with
all
the truck drivers.
All the families in their cars and
Correct.
What have you. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so in a situation where there's a waste spill, for instance, you typically will have anyone of an enforcement like HPD show up, but typically the fire department will show up, determining whether there's any combustible type items on the load. If not, they are required under the law to actually do the cleanup, so they would want to know what type of material they're cleaning up.
Right.
It's got to be described specifically on your manifest.
I see.
And then fines could occur for handling material illegally. So your documentation has to be correct, your licenses of the drivers has to be regulated and therefore correct, and also whether the driver themselves were either negligent, of the event or not, or someone else causing an accident, which might cause an event. But in any case, the most critical part and point of carrying material over the road is that you do it safely from the point of generation to the point of delivery.
Okay. Well, I think you covered that really well in this episode because, the general public, but especially the generators, that potentially are looking for someone authorized like you should know these things.
Correct.
Because in the end, they're responsible.
They are.
Right.
As generators, they are, and they're responsible for moving their material into the recycling chain and doing it safely, properly.
Okay. Well, that was very informative. And for those of you that want more information, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the number 808-518-3997. Call or text that number. You'll be asked for your name and email, and you'll be sent a report right away from Alan. and so that you can know how to properly remove your materials from your property.
Correct.
So until we see you in the next episode, we're going to say aloha.
Aloha. Thank you.